Good afternoon. Yeah, it's nice to be here. I only remember being here when Vasanthi used to keep gauging our presentations, and it was limited to 2 slides. What can you say if you cannot say it in 2 slides? And Shilpa always used to show 2 minutes from the back. So I have
She
the
continues to do that.
luxury, not for me today. So I have the luxury of both time and more slides today. We earlier did. So I think all of us find writing the about me section the most difficult when we do something, right? We don't want to be on LinkedIn, even Facebook. It's easy to talk about everything else, but not write that small intro. So this is something very different. But I think when I look back on what I have learned most from, it is when people have shared their stories with me. I mean, irrespective of a lot of lectures we would have attended, when you meet someone and they say, when I started, this was how I felt. And that is what teaches us more. And of course, irrespective of all the successes that they may deem, when they tell us that, oh, even I had this problem. You know, in Naritra one also we used to have this joke. It's so nice to know that I'm not the only one who has a challenge. Everybody has a challenge here. Of whether it's attrition or not seeing something that we dreamt so much and thought it will be so rosy, not me. So I think that was the best learning. So I thought I could just share that life with all of you here. And maybe we can see how it goes. I would want it to be interactive so you can ask questions or pitch in with your feelings, your thoughts on the same thing. I think that is the way we can do it. Yeah.
You can use the...
Oh yeah, it's right there. That's what it's
The other one? Side?
Opposite side.
So I think a lot of us have turning points in life. So I was just wondering, when is it that I decided I'll do something like this? Had a very typical 80s upbringing. You know what that is, right? Many of you might be from that time. All of you. Okay, I don't have
Yes.
But 70s, 80s, all of us have had the same typical upper middle class upbringing. If we can say, all you have to do is study. Your parents are pushing you and they say, marks lao bas aur sab baad mein dekhenge. So in my family, especially my father was the first engineer from his village. He comes from a very small village near Tumkur in Karnataka. My mom was like the only student in her college in engineering. So there was so much pressure of doing something that it's always study. So I put education in very big font, 80s to 90s. Though there was a lot of bouts of patriotism, which was of course limited to cricket between India for many of us, and spirituality, because one of my mom's own uncle was a monk, and she was a follower of Chinmaya mission. And now that I look back, though I used to crib a lot about my music classes and others in school, when I think of something, it was my music teacher who taught us the most patriotic songs, or some songs which actually answered life better. I don't know how many of you know Kannada? Very less, but she taught us a song which we used to laugh at that time, which is Ramana Maharshi singing to his mother on how to make papad. Okay, she asks him, "Come Ramana, you help me make papad." And he explains the whole philosophy of life in how to make papad. So he said, "Tidini happada maduvuda sutiso savidu adara hada." He says, "Tanuvina nenadali beleda ahammina huruliya kaalanu suliyo." Horse gram and aham, ego, he's comparing. So then, we were like, "Katam hoga ye class kai." But now that I recollect, I think a lot of that grounding and foundation came at that age. But definitely it was all about education, and my mom was a very strict ringmaster. Whenever I got even 2 marks less, I used to go to my dad and say, "Before she comes from office, please sign my report." So that is the whole way the 80s to 90s went. Though yes, I started kind of my spiritual journey going to Brahma Kumaris and then Ramana Maharshi Ashram. Because even in school I was too much into music, debate and those kind of things. So they used to hold a lot of competitions in Ramana Maharshi's call. So that was how the whole 90s went away, and of course still I passed. I think Y2K 2000 has been turning point in many lives. I think that was the year I started my engineering. So again it was almost like there's no other path. You're going to study, you're going to get into engineering, and too much of family pressure in a way that I was a distinction student throughout. I'm not saying that more with pride, but because of how much my family expected, that my aunts used to say, oh, so sad you're in central syllabus. If you were in state syllabus, we could see your, rank photo in the paper. I'm like, thank God I'm not in state syllabus, because what happens if I don't? So that kind of a pressure family, because everybody was educated, and though I didn't feel, I see how much all my friends felt then that thing was there. But Y2K was a very special journey, because once I started my engineering, but that was the year when actually I started a very structured spiritual journey, because we took something called initiation in Ramakrishna movement, which I have been a follower of for very long, even before that, but specifically that time. So that was when I started reading a lot of Vivekananda's books, and I think one thing my mom did was, I was very young and I don't know, she taught me this arise, awake, stop not, till the go to sleep. So she always followed Vivekananda, but of course education overrode everything. But that was the year when I started reading a lot, and Vivekananda talks too much about, whether it made sense then or not, on selflessness, and to the extreme that he says they alone live fully for others, rest are more dead than alive. So in my engineering, when this was the thing, I got, there were bouts when I felt, what am I really doing by reading this civil engineering, or maybe even IT, or I was in electronics and communication. So it was like, what am I really going to do with, developing mobile technology, which might not help anything. But again, I got lost in the rat race, get your distinction, come out. I came out of college. One major thing that happened was, Ramakrishna Mat is run mostly by monks and nuns, right? So there was a moment when I told my mom I'm leaving home and going and becoming a nun. She was like so scared. She's like, this is not what I got you into what for. So it went to that extreme where I felt that that is what I wanted to do in my life. And but I passed out of engineering. Then my parents said, see, people are going to talk about you. So why don't you get a job, after that you can go to whatever you want. So I went, I cleared my campus interview, I got a job letter. So I said, keep the letter now. You wanted me to prove to people, right? Because by then I had become more understanding of what I really wanted to do. Though it was just a passing thing. So she said, why don't you work for 1 year next? But that 1 year is what became 7 years later. Because you're lost, you're sitting in a good seat, you're earning at the end of the month, there is your money coming in your account. So this is, I think, something all of us go across. So that 1 year became 7 years. The only turning point again which I didn't put there was when I got married in 2006. My husband is again from Ramakrishna Mat background, and the famous joke is he wanted to become a monk. I wanted to become a nun, and we married each other. So person later, oh come on, you got married each other. So we say our family sold this to us. You don't want to marry, why don't we marry? So it's been good, the journey. We thought, okay, why don't both of us trace the social journey or the journey of change together? Again, a very typical background, and both of us, I think that helped in a way, because 2006 we got married, moved to Hyderabad because he got a transfer. And there we didn't have too many things to do. I mean, when you have family, right? My whole family is in Bangalore. Every weekend some function comes up. And when we were kids, we could escape. But as soon as you get married, you are a different family. I used to say, okay, Amma, you are going. She's like, no, you have to come. Before it was okay. So then, when we went to Hyderabad, we felt that void. And we were in too much the partying kind, both of us, from before. So what is it we wanted to do? We looked for a lot of volunteering opportunities, because being in Ramakrishna, both of us used to volunteer every weekend in different ways. And volunteering was not that common in 2006-07 as it is now. And we moved to Hyderabad. Youth for Seva, the organization I started working with, started in Bangalore. So one of my friends joined the organization. That was my introduction. And he started raising money for some cause. So he actually asked me to donate. That was my first stint with Youth for Seva. So I actually started as a donor in Youth for Seva. And then I wrote a mail to the founder asking, why don't you start something in Hyderabad? He said, I have never thought of doing anything. I just thought as an experiment in Bangalore. If you want, you go ahead and start in Hyderabad. But then another guy called Shobit, he had come down from US. So me, my husband Shobit, we all started the Hyderabad chapter in 2010. That is how I began my journey in the social sector in a more structured way. And that was when I decided to resign my job. Because every time I came back there, I realized I was not getting that thing in office which I was getting there. Because I was so happy when I was here. I mean, I like coding, that whole thing, but I realized sometimes it is more because I wanted to prove even a woman can do anything. I was the only woman in an all-man's team. I became the lead with 5 men. It's such vanity now, I feel. But then it meant a lot to me, being very honest, you know. Oh God, see, there are men reporting to me, and now I feel so horrible about it. Sorry, men, but yeah. So that is when, but in 2010, I think that is when I made this decision, and sometime on Republic Day in Jan 26, we used to always do a lot of activities in slums, and when we came back, we didn't even have an office for youth in Hyderabad at that time. So our house was like an office. And people thought I and my husband are actually caretakers. To that level, they said, "Acha, आप दोनों भी यही रहते हो क्या?" So to that level, and that day we volunteered in a lot of slums, came back, and I remember seeing a few movies like Swadesh and Line of Control, Kargil, if you have seen. And that's when I thought, really, what am I doing in life actually? And my husband, he was feeling the same thing. He just told me one thing that day, that if you've decided this is not what you want to do, not many people can get the clarity of the decision. You have it, so just go ahead and resign. So I wouldn't say I took a very thought about decision, to be honest. I was just 25, 26. So I thought not much about money, how am I saving and all. I just went next day and resigned. Most difficult decision. When that resignation went out, as much as I felt very, relieved that I've done it, I also started crying without knowing. Because I loved what I was doing also. So that was very difficult, but I think that was the changing decision in my life. Again, telling my parents I lied that I've taken a sabbatical. I didn't even tell them I've resigned. Because sabbatical, which means your job is still there, right? Next 6 months you can come back. I'm like, yeah, I can come back. But that looking back, I think all of us might have that thing. Some people even have turning points. It's been more organic in my life, that I always wanted to do it, but I got lost in the rigor of it and came back. So 2011 is when I started the journey in the social sector. So about 9 years now to go. So this has been the journey, but I think the foundation has been in the spiritual touch, because it has given a lot of answers. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest, not personality or whatever, that I have everything right. I do wrongs. But I think it has made me enough grounded to know that I'm making a mistake and I have this limitation in me. And I have to correct. So that, I think, is a very important part of our journey. That at least first realizing that yes, this is the shortcoming in me, because it's so difficult to accept. And Aritra was one of the programs which helped me embrace that actually. Yeah.
You have it in your hand.
Oh God, I'm so used. Yesterday I was in other talk, no, they were doing it so. Yeah, so I think the lessons from this journey itself.
Or else you can give it to me.
That's the limitation, no, let me overcome. So, yeah, I think this picture, if you see, right, this has been one of the toughest things I've done in life. I volunteered in the Uttarakhand floods in 2013-14, and I almost lost my life in a landslide. So this was a landslide that we had to cross, and it was very difficult, and 11 of us had gone. A lot of them were very scared. I mean, I was scared, of course, but only thing we knew was we had to cross this landslide. There was no other way of going to Uttarakhand. All of us had to walk through paths like this. So Ganga is roaring on this side, mountain boulders are coming on the other side. Then when we were passing through it, a lot of people who got scared didn't want to pass there, so they started running from up. And more boulders started rolling down, so you can imagine how it was. So I was just crossing, and we used to wait. When we saw no boulder was there, we had to just very slowly walk across. And I don't know, just when I was crossing with all those luggage also, one boulder really came rushing by. And the videographer actually videographed the person who was with us, because we were doing the ground survey. And I just moved like this. I don't know what went into me, but at that minute it was like a fraction of a second. And that boulder passed like this. So I pass, and some people say, "Aajkal ke yuva kaise hi hote hain, they take everything for granted. What is this? Why should you guys come here?" The other say, "Arey, Jhansi ki Rani ho abhi ki." So there is such missed thing. But the only thing I wondered then was, is it going to stop me from working in this sector? Because you faced something which would have actually ended your life. And I think in that minute, without thinking, I thought I'll still do this because I'm loving what I'm doing. I think that gave me a lot of clarity, because even when I left my job, I thought maybe I'll do this for 4 or 5 years. That was a big turning point. Because within me, it was not to tell anyone, but within me I had an answer that I would still do this, and it didn't scare me that day. I thought maybe this is the journey I want to go on. So I think that's the reason I put that picture. So one of the major lessons I learned in this is a lot of these lessons when I reflected. What happened is.
This is videos, you have the videos.
Oh wow, I'll share, no So, good, I'll share. So yeah, one of the lessons that I learned was this conviction in the power of goodness. Because a lot of times during this journey, I think all of you would have gone through this, we'll start doubting our own decisions and what we are doing. Because you're not really seeing a change in the sector. It's going to take ages. But for example, volunteers when we engage, they teach spoken English. And then they say, I am teaching from 1 year, the child didn't get 90. So yesterday I played this, just a small thing. I asked one of the people in the audience, what toothpaste do you use? She said, Colgate. Can you start using Meswak? She said, no, yes or no. I said, see, even to change your toothpaste you take so long. You want the society to change in 1 year, 2 years. So this is so much for us that we start doubting ourselves. But I've seen so many such examples. I think that goodness is there. And we have to have our faith or conviction in the power of goodness, because somewhere it's making a change. I think that is what keeps all of us going irrespective of the challenges we face. I've got very extreme stories. I just want to share one to give an example. Anybody from Hyderabad? Oh, good. There is an ashram called Pallavi Ashram in Kukatpalli, where husband and wife actually look after people, you know, who are mentally deranged. They find them on the roads and they come and look after. I mean, it's very crazy to do, you know, because even if we see, maybe we'll run away or be safe ourselves. So all these people have no idea where they have come from or what they're going to do. They don't remember even eating. They don't know how to eat. Or it's extreme. I can't believe somebody can do that. So she was sharing a story once. There was a person whom I saw when I went there. He happened to be from Ranchi, Jharkhand, which they didn't actually know when he was, you know, they just joined. But when I went, this story was what came out, that he was there and the next day his family was going to come take him. It was so amazing that it seems a month before, he had somehow recollected that he's from Ranchi, Jharkhand and also a phone number. And he gave that phone number to her. So she kept trying and nobody picked. So she just left that piece of paper and just went away. Apparently the previous day or 2 days before, she was cleaning up, you know, when she found this number and she said, one last time, let me give it a try. And that guy's uncle actually picked up the phone. Interesting thing was that uncle said he had stopped using that number. But when he was cleaning the house, he found the SIM and he thought maybe this guy will still get in touch. So goosebumpy moment that, you know, he put the SIM and the number went at the same time and they were reunited. And she keeps telling this that though we don't realize what change we are making, sometimes, you know, that thing that universe conspires is so true. I think many such stories have at least made me believe that if not today, someday there will be change. And of course, we lose our confidence in it sometimes, but that conviction and the power of goodness is very important. And second thing is, we all keep talking about this cause above self, but people challenge it and it becomes so difficult. I think Avitra has mainly been about organization above ourselves, cause above organization. Though we talk about it, you know, sometimes we do training programs for those teachers in school and we have to literally beg them sometimes to come. And they say, ye acha nahi tha, kana acha nahi tha. Right? So initial days at least I think was what? We are giving you free and how dare you question us like this. Then I met an educationist in Hyderabad. She said I also used to have these things before, you know. And if I get pissed off because a teacher is wanting his ego to be, you know, patted, why should I really give up my work and, you know, give in to that temptation? It's okay, I will maybe pat a few backs if I have to really reach my goal. So people like this actually taught me, and that's a filter I use today, what she said. I said, whom am I finally doing this for? It's okay if I have to, you know, satisfy a few other egos in the journey, and sometimes it is letting you down. There are people, all of us know, who have slammed the door on our face, CSRs who treat us like vendors. Paisa dete hai, kaam karo kinds, you know, like they know the best and they want you to do the work. We say a lot of groundwork, need-based analysis, and they come up with some fancy project and say, I want to paint the wall. I remember in one school, these guys wanted to paint the wall and the principal is like, I've painted it 2 weeks ago, please leave it. But like, I have to engage my employees, no, I have to paint it. So finally principal said, okay, please paint the wall, but don't paint the blackboard because I've got all these 2 lines, 4 lines and all. I still went and painted the whole blackboard. So this is how we are treated. But I think this lady, her name is Dr. Vishnupriya, shared that, you know, sometimes you know, don't know where you learn from. But till today I question myself when I feel bad. Whom am I doing this for? So it's okay if somebody else is talking like this about me. And main thing I think I've learned a lot is by touring around India. I think like Anita said, I've had a very different job. My work is more in promoting volunteering. So I go around India to start chapters, you know, and do the ground analysis of what volunteers can really do in every city or organization. Tremendous amount of work happening. Oh my God, I keep, what you see in media is actually nothing. Like yesterday they said whole Delhi is burning and my parents called me 100 times before I landed in Delhi. yes, there was problem in a section of the city, but it's not like, we are seeing one part of it. So I think touring around India, I don't know how many of you have got the opportunity to do, but if you go everywhere, starting from Kashmir, where I went to the villages, to Kanyakumari, where very small hamlets run some self-help groups, tremendous amount of work happening. So much. People, I don't know, the kind of ideas they have come up with to make changes in the society. I met a little guy who loved playing football, and he left his engineering just because he thought he wanted to teach football to kids in the slums. He said, I got a very good coach, but who can teach them? He built a world-class team out of those kids, who go to work in Cafe Coffee Day and other things. But they come in evening to learn football from me. So many such experiences. I think that's one thing which has helped me be very grounded also. Because irrespective of everything, we all know that, "Arey, job chhod ke ye kar rahi ho kya? Wow, you're so great." Sometimes those who believe that we also become, go float on cloud nine. It's become a fashion nowadays actually, come and work here because it's easy to make a name. Yesterday when I was in this session, right, it was for some fellowship in social sector. And I asked these guys, so what are your goals? What do you really want to do? I was surprised when two people said, we want to get into Better India. They wanted to be featured in Better India. I mean, as a byproduct, you get featured in Better India, it's okay, but that's not the goal you're working for. Right? So it's so complicated, though we think it's easy, we'll all get done by the ego. So seeing such people, I mean, when I go ask them, आप कब से काम कर रहे हैं? मैं पिछले 40 साल से social sector में काम कर रहा हूँ. Like we were not even born and there were guys who were working, so long. And some people say I was arrested during emergency. That is when I decided that, I have to help this section of people, man, God. So that I think is the most humbling experience. This is what Swami Vivekananda did actually. He says, he's called a wandering monk. He went all around India and that's when he said, I understood the real society. So I think it leaves you very humbled and grounded and embracing that diversity, because sometimes we are so scared, we keep saying like-minded, that we don't want to actually see the diverse thing. So embracing these diverse perspectives is something which happened because of that. Especially I volunteered in the Kumbh actually for 3 whole months last Kumbh in Prayag, and I was involved more than a year before that to do. So diverse. That person sitting in the DM's office, he calls me from Bangalore, I take an overnight train, go, and then he says, हाँ DMs आप अभी कहीं चले गए हैं, आप परसों फिर से आ सकते हैं क्या? Bangalore is not next door, dude. So you meet so diverse people, and then there is a Swachha Karmachari, these Swachhata Karmacharis were the most sought after in Kumbh. And those people are working with the thing that we believe in Atithi Devo Bhava. It was not really money actually, though they were paid for it. They used to say, we believe in Atithi Devo Bhava. If people are coming here, it's our duty to serve them and keep it clean for them. So you actually get to learn from everyone and from diverse people. So I think travel does that. I think that's been a very important part of my journey if I've learned something. The last point I put is be and make. Again, a lesson from Vivekananda. But one thing I really realized is more than us becoming something, all of our goals in life could be, can I make 10 people like me or better than me? When I say like me, it's not really a ego, but can I leave 10 people, 10 Amritas behind before I leave, who will carry on the work, right? Because that's what leads to that nuclear effect and goes on. And irrespective of how much we think it's about social transformation, this is more a journey in self-transformation, right? How much ever we say we are making a change, all of us today know that we are different from what we were doing. There's something we have definitely learned to do. So I keep telling people that every time don't question what is the impact I did there. Who is measuring the impact within? So that journey of self-transformation is something we have to spread more. So I think this B and Mac is very important because I totally believe that there should be more people who carry on the work. It's not a competition here that I need to be the best. But in whatever way, better than us if somebody can do it. So I think that's one of the duties that all of us carry. I'm sure Aritra also, that's the main message that they have. Yeah.
Your hand.
Oh God! I really give it to you. So yeah, I think lessons from Aritra. Anita added lessons you learned or not. I skipped the or not part because when I was having a late night flight yesterday, I had 2 choices. I thought, do I sleep or reflect on what I'm going to talk tomorrow? And it was so amazing that things just kept coming. I was not referring my notes. I just realized how much it has been a part of my life that, I could recollect so many of these lessons. So I think I learned from the course itself. The content of course is amazing, the people who are coming, from the resource persons of course, And more importantly, I'm calling it family, Aditra family, because we were all so close. Even now I miss that I can't. Anita is my ex-Sahayogi. She doesn't call me as much as she used to call before. And peers itself, I think all of you also realize such a close-knit family you are. So we keep still meeting each other in the group when we go to the other city. We have lunch together, make the others jealous by sending photos. So it's like this group of kiddos again, you're fighting. How dare you meet? And a lot of such internal jokes which go on. So I think all these people, and I call them my tribe because they have really helped me in a lot of things in my life. So I thought these are the 3 ways I learned in the course. I think first thing which Vasanthi kept drilling down, leadership as a reflective practice. So important. Out of all things, if there's one line I took, it's that. Because sometimes I keep wondering, we all like taking a vacation, why don't we take it inside? You uncover so many gems and stones also, but that's something we shouldn't be different. I think most of the times we don't reflect because we know we'll find some of the shortcomings inside, which we don't want to acknowledge. But I think her putting it, it's like, they tell it in Kannada, but all languages will be saying, they say, Shankadinda Bandre Tirtha, no? If it comes from Shanka, it is Tirtha. So we all know, but she said it, so now all of us are doing it. So I think that was one of the best lessons I carried forward from Aditra. And I think putting the learnings into perspective. So many years in the field, we would have learned different things. But when I was in the classroom and Vasanthi or Saurav got to putting it on the board, I'm like, oh yeah, it is really like this. This is why it was like this. And so it helped to spread it along. Maybe we couldn't articulate it that way, but when they put it on board and said, okay, this is like this, it's known as like this. So then okay, this is what it was, and maybe I have to try this forward. I think the best lesson I learned, I was talking to Anita a lot about this letting go. I was at a position in Youth for Seva where I wanted to form an next level of leadership. But this is something I see in all organizations. Everybody puts let go, and it's the most difficult thing to do. But why is it like this? I wanted to know. We keep talking about it. I think one beautiful thing Anita told me was, watch in meetings and other things as to why you are not letting go or delegating your work. Maybe you don't trust the other person, right? Or you don't want to just think that they will do the work. So find out who is it you trust and see if you could delegate a part of your work to them. I think that was a very important thing. And while I was doing that, I found one more major thing was that all of us have a particular way of doing things, right? One thing I can say is not that I like it best, but I'm very fast at everything. Even talking, I talk fast. So, for example, my Ayurvedic doctor, we go to an Ayurvedic doctor in family. He keeps saying, Swati, you practice Vishnu Sahasranama and tell it slowly daily so that you slow down in life. So that's a joke. But these expectations that I was expecting others to be as quick as me. And when they don't do it, I used to feel, arey, baapre, main 1 ghante mein kar sakti hu, 3 din le raha hai. But what you lose in that is this guy is not learning that. So I think that expectations is something I had to lower them because that was what I felt I was not able to let go or delegate. Because I expected them to be as perfect, whatever, I believe I am perfect, it's not like I am perfect, so it is in all of us. I believe that they were not as fast as me or as perfect, so that expectations is one thing I realized, of course, with Anita's course. And then this comfort zone, sometimes letting go also, though I was talking about it and I had other ideas I wanted to execute, start new organizations, I was in a nice position, right? A position as in I'm not talking about a position, but good zone where I'm comfortable, I know what I'm doing. Though I was researching more, I know the people I'm working with. I know I'm going to the same office daily. So these are 3 things I thought keep all of us in this zone where we don't want to let go. So maybe you have other choices you could definitely pitch in, but I think when I reflect back those things, when I could work on especially these expectations, where I say it's okay if this work is not done in 1 hour unless it's very urgent, and I leave it to others because he is more important than the work being done. People stick up to it. Other definite thing I've learned is Youth for Seva is definitely not functioning the way it was after I left. But maybe it's functioning in a different way and it's okay. Most of the times we think it has to just, we were running it best and it has to run like that. People might either run it better or it might slow down, but it's still running, which is fine. So that's something I made the choice to move on. No, I could have as well sat there and run it the way I wanted. So that expectations I felt was a very big thing for me to look into. Yeah, and dedication to the cause. I mean, we keep talking about this, but one incident which reminded me was we had a classmate called Rose, Rosenara, who was from Delhi. She used to work with AIDS and HIV victims. I remember one of our modules happened to be on a day which was World AIDS Day. This lady actually cries that I am not with the people I actually work with. I'm like, oh my god, somebody can cry that they're not able to celebrate World AIDS Day with their beneficiaries. Imagine how much it has gone into her. You know, people talk about work-life balance, at least in social work, I'm very confused. Work is life, life is work here. How could she otherwise cry? And she asked all of us, can you all stand up today and, 2 minutes we all celebrate for them. This is so long ago in 17, but it just strikes me, which means that it made an impact. That's why I said peers are somebody we learn so much from. So that dedication that each person, I'm sure in that batch and even this batch, all of you have tremendous, and I loved being a part of Aritra for them. Because even when we were in classrooms and school before, it was all about competition. Even your best friend, you're still competing. Oh, usko second rank, that dialogue in 3 Idiots, right? So, fellows, rather you feel bad when he is first and you're second. So, that is how, but this is the cohort where I felt we were not competing with, but complementing each other. So, that lesson from Rose, I'm sure came out of everybody else, but it just struck me that she could shed tears that she was not with AIDS victims. Yeah, and embracing yourself, your vulnerabilities. I think this is one most important lesson because people try to tell you that if you are a leader, you should be like this only, whether you will or not. Are leader ho, tum roti ho. Are tum bhi aise karti ho. It's like you can't make mistakes. You're still human, right? Especially when it comes to your vulnerabilities. I'm a very sensitive person by nature. You know, there was this famous song, I Have No Tears to Cry, long back in my teens. And my whole family used to tease me, oh, you still have tears to cry. Because I used to cry at the drop of a hat. Though I include, I still very easily break into tears when I feel bad. And a lot of my peers and seniors whom I looked up to in my own organization used to say, you should become strong. You should not cry. When did crying actually become a sign of weakness? But I think in Aritra that was acknowledged and they helped me embrace and to say it's okay if I cry at times. You know, sometimes I feel very good after I cry for 10 minutes. After why was I crying is fine. But it's okay. But embracing your vulnerabilities is so important. It is not possible when people say leave everything. I have a girl in my team now. Sometimes when she gets a call, she starts crying so badly that in her family, if somebody says somebody has a fever also, she cries like that. But that's her nature. I mean, she has to improve. But I can't tell her just because you're crying, you get out of the team. I think that's one of the beautiful lessons that I learned through Aritra, that you can sometimes overcome everything and it's okay to embrace our weaknesses. And I think that the last thing that Vasanti left us with in the last day in the thing, she said 3 C's that are important for any leader: commitment, confidence and competence. I mean, along the journey we all would have shown commitment and confidence is something we carry, but somehow we don't focus on competence. You know, there is the saying that you can't solve problems at the same level at which you were when you created them. But we think that just with what knowledge we have, we'll keep solving social problems. We have to keep making us more competent. Like a course like Aritra or whatever MOOCs we had. I think that's something we keep keeping in the rigor of daily life. So I thought that's again very important. Enough lessons have been coming there, right? There are more, but I thought these are some things I could recollect without even seeing. One more thing I forgot to put it there, I remembered later. Vasanti, every time I did the presentation, she used to say, everything is good, Swati, but it is inside out, make it outside in. I'm like, what is this outside in she keeps talking about? But I then realized we keep talking about doing need-based solutions. But a lot of times it's like, hey, I have an artificial intelligence expert in my company, so I will design some solution with AI. Who really needs it? So this outside-in perspective that she gave later helped me solve a lot of problems, because you're not doing something because you have the ability or you have the team to do it, but because it's really needed there. So in the third PPT she said, okay, this is finally there, this outside, and I'm like, oh God, thank God. She's not here, I'm so happy to don't tell her or share this video. But I think that was very important lesson that she gave, that I felt that how much ever we believe we are doing this need-based analysis, we are doing a lot of inside-out thing, because we feel we have the people to do it, we have the resources. The classic mistake we made when we started Youth for Seva. We used to go to schools and say, Namaste sir, our volunteers can teach English and maths, what do you want? And he used to say, can you pay my electricity bill? Because he never needed English or maths. The first thing was to ask him what were his problems, and then maybe convincing him you still need it. So that's the inside-out mistake we all made. Yeah. So I think there was one, Anita wanted me to cover on challenges and tools to overcome. Spoke about a lot of challenges, but I felt all of us definitely have challenges. I think it doesn't stop. I have felt a lot on my way, especially when I started very young, at 25, 26. A lot of people who used to tell me, go to Ninchikodi Sumne Kutko. You are young, so you don't know. I have experience in this sector. So it kind of, though people always say we are open to ideas, most of them actually wanted to just execute what they are telling. And by nature, I hated this from before. Even my mom told me something, I used to question her and didn't do it. Whether it's right or wrong, it was me, that's all. So this challenge of being that, and especially many times when I've heard, you're a woman, why are you giving so much time? Travel, for example, I told you I travel a lot. Somewhere I go in the course, somebody meets, oh, it was very nice, madam. By the way, if you keep traveling like this, what about your family? So that's the first question people get as a woman, that your family is not worried, they are okay with it, you're okay with it. It tremendous challenge, and this was something which really used to break me down in the earlier years, because it's not. Then I felt I am not answerable to everyone. I asked my family, are you okay with this? And my husband, he said, oh God, if you don't go out even for so many days in a month, I will get mad, so you better go. So I knew if he's joking about it, he's fine with it. And you can always spend quality time with your family when you're there. I now ask back that question. Okay, if being under the same roof is quality time, tell me what do you and your family do at home? One is in the room browsing on another phone. Somebody else is elsewhere. So quality time is not that always all days of the month you sit under the shelter. You just learn to balance. So it is kind of a mixture. As long as we are able to do justice to both, I think that's one of the major challenges I had. Very difficult to embrace. Nobody had an answer. It's not easy to do it. But I think a lot of things which helped me was reading through stuff. Whenever I feel bad, I go read books. I've been a voracious reader from before, and reading Vivekananda's books have really helped me. I think that was one thing. Now reading habit is also going down. So and a couple of change maker stories that I've read. Like I could each read and all of you would have read Karma Yogi, his life. Or there's a very interesting book called School for My Village. I don't know if you read. It's an African person who starts a school in his village. Amidst all odds, he's in US, but a small village in Africa, he's still running it. So I happened to meet him sometimes. So you see that people have gone through these challenges. It's not always easy. So I'm not saying it fixes it totally. Challenges are still there, but it's one of the tools which definitely. Other thing is I write a blog more for myself. It's like the Avitra journal, but I see that I get a lot of clarity when I write. I wrote about letting go. I wrote about some difficult decisions I have to take. When I write down, it's like going back to the blackboard of writing. Write it for yourself, but I don't know if this helps, but it's helped me immensely. I travel, I come back and write. I feel a lot of Aritra stories I wrote down that way, because one is then I realized people also started pouring in their own experiences with it. I'm like, oh yeah, even I felt like this, maybe this is how it's done. And when I wrote about letting go, some people said, oh God, I was doing with this my kid, let alone in the company. Our kids, we expect that they have to be like this. So much it's nice to exchange. So writing is something which gives me a lot of clarity. And Vasanti had given us the permission on the last day. She said, go to a room, shut down your room, cry for 30 minutes, blame the world as much as you want. Then you say, enough of crying, now go and tackle the world again. So simple practical solutions. So these are some things which have really helped to overcome things. Yeah, and which I was some years ago. So how can I say I'm myself? So he says, don't be any self, no other self, yourself, just be. How calm it felt when I did that. You just be what you are. Why are you thinking so much of how should I be? You will anyway be what you are trying to be better, but just be. Oh, it's a beautiful thing I learned here, and it gave me such solace. So now it's like calming the ripples on the surface of water. So I just said be. And a couple of things I felt is fearless and willing to experiment. A lot of people used to tell us, I mean, now in 30s, so they used to say, when you started, you were this young person who could do anything. Now you can't be fearless. I'm like, why? What has changed? You said you've aged 10 more years. So always, we have done some very big experiments. I once went to Kargil with a group of volunteers. The idea was to attend the Kargil Vijay Divas, which mostly civilians are not allowed. But we just made an attempt. India had won the World Cup, right? 2011 is when we went. So I was in Hyderabad. So we were so excited, all of us painted our faces, volunteers, that was my family then. So midnight after India won the World Cup, we go near this Hussain Sagar bands. My God, the whole of Hyderabad was like out there. Everybody is celebrating. I thought if something like cricket can unite India, there should be other causes which can actually unite the world. That's when Kargil Vijay Divas was coming up, and we just, there were more mad people like me. You know, people call us crazy many times. So there's one very famous doctor in Bangalore, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Deshmani. She was a vegetable seller. She became a doctor, and she headed the Kidwai hospital. Beautiful story. If any of you want to go and see. So she used to say, Huchara Sante. This is a male of crazy people and we love being here, no? It's okay if we are crazy. So I just said, hey, why don't you guys go to Kargil this year for DJ News? And I had my husband, he has been my partner in crime always, and 2 more friends. They said, yeah, that's a very good idea. We didn't think of anything else. Then we decided that from the time India won the Kargil war to that day, 26 July 2011, it was 4,383 days. So we realized, we decided we'll take 4,383 messages on a big roll of paper from people all over the world. It actually worked. People sent messages and they sent more greetings. People's Plaza Hyderabad, we put that roll and it was a crazy idea. In our own organization, people said, are you mad? Just go teaching that school. Why are you wasting time? But it gave us so much of, till today I remember the lessons I learned from those people, and what you can pass on. And those soldiers actually shed tears. They used to find, ये message Telugu में है, ये message Punjabi में है. This has come from somebody in my state. It was just priceless, and it's still there in the Kargil Museum. So willing to experiment such things. I think advantage was that I was not part of a very grown organization. The organization started when I started, so it was easy to do such crazy things. But I think I still believe that that's something we have to do. And then being assertive. A lot of times when you're assertive or about something, people think you're arrogant. They say, chup raho, aise mat bolo. And sometimes I used to feel very bad. I mean, I'm just trying to be assertive about it. I'm not aggressive or I believe this is like this. So I feel, especially in this sector, I've heard many times that they say, sab chhod kar yahan aaye hai, you want to tell them they're not right also. Come on, they're not doing a service by trying to do this. It's still a career. So not being a good cop should be okay with us. That is something I've made peace with you. It's okay, boss, you be the good cop, I'll always be the bad cop. I'm okay with this. As long as we don't get aggressive, it's okay to be assertive. Okay to be sensitive again, like I said, because that's something I've been drilled on so much. Don't cry, don't be like this, don't be like that. And invest in yourself. I think this is something we feel so guilty about. Again, I think credit goes to Vasanthi. She never used to allow us to put our mobile phone. What you people, you're becoming leaders in 1 hour. If you don't keep your mobile phone, the world is not going to die because you're not doing it. We put so much pressure on ourselves that if one day I take a break, oh my God, what's going to happen to my work? The world has been going on before we started working, it is still go on.
She said it yesterday. She just said it yesterday.
She said again? Good. So investing in myself was something even I held myself very guilty for. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what happened. And sometimes somebody asks for blood and I'm not able to find a donor, I used to feel so guilty. My husband was like, you're trying, but you can't really fetch blood for everybody in the world. Or if a child got married in front of my eyes, I was like, oh my God, this happened because of it. So this thing that we are not supposed to take a break, not supposed to someday lie and not pick a call, I felt is okay. Because as long as our vessel is empty, we can never pour out of it. That's something I put up on my dashboard now, and I keep reminding myself that it's okay to just invest in yourself. It's cool. Sometimes it's okay to take a break, to have fun, because social leaders, about a teacher, I had read this somewhere, that the private life of a teacher is of public importance. And just because you're a leader, people say, social sector mein hai, aisa karte ho. Like, you people didn't even get into the sector, but just because you're there, you have your own, ways of measuring us. And it's okay if we don't stand up to sometimes. I think those things have to be. So that's again a very important thing. Another thing like be and make, I think, is human excellence. A lot of times when I said, this happened with me, that I think Anita also, I wrote it in my IDP that if I can do it, then they can do it. People used to feel some of ego. And they used to say it is not necessary if you are doing that to do it. I never meant that they have to do it because I am doing it. But again, Vivekananda keeps saying that each soul has that potential within. You just have to manifest it. So when I said I can do it, you can do it, it's because all of us have the same potential inside. You just manifest it and you should be able to do it. And that's something I am still rely on, and that's the reason I go do these talks. And I'm also planning to start an organization which is more on these lines, where you help people seek within, not only leaders, but starting from an young age, where it's just taking the belief in people out of themselves, that you're always believing in something else to come and be that shining armor who's going to save you out of a situation. And last lesson I learned is to leave the energy behind, like I said, creating more people. Recently, I'm in Hyderabad again in Dilshuk Nagar, there's a blind hostel. Two guys I remember very well, Basavraj and Harish. I recently also happened to call me because I'm in touch with them still. Once when I asked these people, we are so used to it, we used to go ask them, We used to record lessons for them. We used to give them scribes. And once when I asked, "Ha, bolo Harish, aur kya chahiye?" He said, "Akka, why do you always keep asking us what do we need? Why don't you ever tell us how we can give back to the society?" You know, that's been such one of the most heartwarming moments. How dare I treated them like they can do anything? It's so bad. Unknowingly we do these mistakes sometimes, though we say we are sensitive. That person actually wanted to give back to the society. And you know, then he started teaching in a school and all. That's when I realized, and recently one more such little guy who was in one of the orphanages we used to go. He was a single parent kid. He has got a job in IIMB. And we had given him a school kit as part of one of our drives. You imagine if he's working now ages ago. He called recently and asked, "Akka, are you still doing school kit drive? Can I donate for 2-3 kits?" So we have never seen beneficiaries also as instruments of change. We are always thinking we are there to give them something. So can we empower them and leave that energy behind, that someday they start doing it? I think that's such a beautiful thing I learned from these two people. So I just want to acknowledge that. And I think that should be it.
Nothing else.